wanted to show some of this off. Right here I have the next clip is a Korean version of our cinematic Fire and Fury.
생각한대로 작동했으면 좋겠군.
그러게나 말이요. 난 외계 고물 나부랭이 따위에 목을 걸기는 싫다고.
물론 그렇겠지. 하지만 내가 저 물건에 모든 걸 걸었다면 벌써 포기했을 거야. 우리는 서로 믿고 의지했기에.
So we had hundreds of lines of dialogue, and we had to figure out a way to animate all these lines of dialogue in the game. So we came up with a solution, and it was to use a piece of software called Face Effects. And what it does is you take a line of text, an audio file, and a properly set up character. You interpolate all of these things, you put them together, and you get something that looks like this.
Just a friendly business proposition. Do you even know what the Dominion are doing out here?
So we use this type of technology for a lot of the game, but when we use it straight away, just the programming, just the procedural method, we still have some pops, some of the dialogue like runs together, it's a little overly done. So what we do for some of the close-up scenes, we animate on top of it as well. So in the next clip, you might see that some of the pops are taken out, we've abbreviated some of the dialogue, it's a little bit smoother, more convincing.
Just a friendly business proposition. Do you even know what the Dominion are doing out here?
So one of the other challenges for doing localization was how it was translated. The localization team worked very hard on not necessarily translating word for word, but understanding the inner meaning and then rewriting for that new language. Also casting. Casting was huge. And to show off the casting, I wanted to demonstrate the Russian version of the same cinematic.
Бога, чтобы он сработал так, как мы рассчитываем. Уж лучше бы он сработал. Мне не улыбается рисковать жизнью из-за какой-то инопланетной хреновины.
Верно, Тайкус. Но если бы я делал ставку только на артефакт, я бы столько не протянул. Мы в самом центре ада.
That just sounds badass. It's Jim Raynor, Tychus, and Warfield, even though they're in Russian, still feels like it has the same essence of character. So, for a moment, I'm going to hand it back to Scott to talk about machinima.
So, I talked a little bit about machinima earlier on, and if you're at all interested in that technology, or even in filmmaking in general, and want to find an easy path to do it, I recommend that, first of all, StarCraft 2 comes with all of the cinematic assets, including the stuff that we've been showing you on screen today, and as well as the tools to make your own machinima. So it's a really great way to get started. Also, at the Cataclysm Cinematics presentation tomorrow, there will be a brief section talking about the history of machinima at Blizzard, and we're also going to be premiering a never-before-seen movie for WoW, and that is also an in-game cinematics piece. So definitely check that out. So before we wait to the Q&A section, we wanted to show you a few deleted scenes and outtakes. James?
So, we have some deleted scenes and outtakes for you, and this is material that you will never see anywhere else but at BlizzCon. And keep in mind, this material is rough. It was never intended to be, final production material. So there might be missing face animation and missing assets and things like that. Our first one is from the Armory. And what you're going to see is the original Armory set in its original form, and this is a story that we decided to take out because it didn't quite flow with how the game was working. So let's check it out.
Kaczynski, Crane 6, get it done. Wasting my damn time.
Down here slumming, sir.
What was that? Boys are getting riled up, Jim. We got a problem. Wonderful.
This next one is, I guess you would say, the director's cut of a small scene from the cinematic card to play. And see if you can guess why this one was cut. Our rating for this game was T for teen, so we couldn't show this in most countries. Let's do that again. This was cut because Raynor was smoking. One more time.
Take special note of the little bit of brain that drops down inside of his armor.
Oh yeah, in case you're wondering from that last cinematic, or that last clip, that's why Warfield was flinching during that part, so. Okay, this next one was inspired by this piece of artwork. This came from one of the guys on the animation team, and just a little bit of backstory. We work a lot of late hours, and we come up with some alternate ideas for the cinematics. So we were thinking, like, what if Raynor was so badass, he could headlock a Hydralisk and drop kick a Zergling while a nuke is going off in the background? Why not? So this is a clip from the Mars Arabar intro for Raynor. The intro for the first in-game cinematic clip. So let's check out this alternate version. Overdrive.
He and his ragtag band of miscreants have instigated open rebellion across 6 separate worlds and stolen vast amounts of Dominion weapons and hardware.
Mengsk is gonna pay for what he did to both of us.
I assure you, this criminal will be brought to justice very soon.
It ain't over till it's over, you son of a bitch. Adjutant, my troops ready yet?
Your forces are prepared and awaiting your orders, Commander. Uploading tactical data now.
Good. It's about time we kick this revolution into overdrive.
Overdrive. All right, you guys remember Dr. Hansen from the single-player campaign? Who here decided not to save Dr. Hansen in the single-player campaign? Raise your hand. All right, for those of you guys who chose not to save her, here is another late-night animator idea that we came up with of a cinematic called Infested. Here's what happens to Dr. Hansen.
Will you enjoy killing me like you killed my children?
You're infested. You're dead already.
Do it. Finish it.
All right, for this next one, I just want to describe a little bit about how the guys on the cinematics team, on the in-game cinematics team, wear many hats. It's a small elite ninja team of guys who have to do a lot of different jobs. And the team is very focused on story, and it's a very, very fast pipeline. Or what I mean by pipeline, I mean workflow. And there are assets moving through very, very quickly. So at one week, we had to show this cinematic to Nick, who's sitting right beside me, and we were missing some characters. We didn't have models for certain characters yet. We had Valerian, we had Raynor, we had Warfield, but we didn't have Arcturus Mengsk yet. And we had to show something to Nick. And we were a little worried. So part of being an animator on the team is you have to be very inventive. So here's what we showed Nick without giving any warning in our dailies meeting.
Speaking of which, you might particularly enjoy this next step.
Valerian, I just received a report. You've taken half the fleet. Care to explain yourself, boy?
Father, I am about to accomplish that which you never could. Today, I will defeat the Queen of Blades and secure peace throughout the Dominion. By this act, the people will finally know that I am a worthy successor to you.
I love your gumption, son, but you're in way over your head. What makes you think you have the experience?
He ain't alone, Arcturus.
Raynor. I don't know what gutter my son fished you out of, but even you've got to realize that that treacherous bitch cannot be saved. And neither can you.
We'll see about that. And when this is over, you and me got a score to settle.
I love that you guys spent more time animating the ball than you did Valerian or Raynor.
Well, just wanted to say thank you for the in-game cinematics team for all your hard work, and thanks for everybody for playing Starcraft 2.
And we'll open up for questions now. Anybody? Questions? Do we have a mic?
We have mics placed around the stage.
Yeah. There we go.
Hi. I was here at the last year's panel where you were talking about the cinematic between Zeratul and Kerrigan and how you had storyboarded it and how it was going to be really long, too long for a pre-rendered cinematic. And as gorgeous as that looked as a pre-rendered cinematic, did you ever think anywhere down the pipeline, you know, we have so much that we really want to show between these two characters, maybe this should be an in-game cinematic?
Nick?
We were developing the in-game pipeline during the creation of that cinematic, so it really wasn't up and running at that time. And in the future, we're definitely looking at situations like that that are just so large with the types of shots that we had in... backing up, just real quick so you understand, like James was saying, the pipeline for in-game is so fast as a director. It allows us to move so quickly and focus on story and not worry about shot numbers. And in the pre-rendered pipe, we actually count how many shots we have. It's extremely limiting, right? So in the future, situations like that, when we're going to tell a huge operatic story between two characters fighting or something like that, we'd probably consider putting in the in-game pipeline. So yeah, in the future, definitely.
First of all, I wanted to say that it was impressive to see what you guys did. I love pre-rendered graphics, but what you guys were able to do was awesome. And I know I'm one of the many fans who loved having an extra helping of such great cinematics. My question is, do you guys feel that given current hardware, you can actually push the level of detail and optimization for these graphics such that the cinematics can get even closer to how realistic and awesome they look, closer to pre-rendered graphics? And as a matter of fact, are there plans to do that with Heart of the Swarm?
As a matter of fact, we do have plans to add some new graphical features. We do think we can push it a little further than we have in the past. That said, though, one of Blizzard's mandates that kind of helps set us apart from other PC gaming companies is that we want our games to be accessible to a really wide audience. We want as many people as possible to be able to play these movies back. So that means that at our highest quality settings, we can add crazy levels of features and really cool stuff, but we have to make sure the movies still work without those. So any features that we add can't be critical to the storytelling.
Hi, I think whenever I look at the stuff that you guys do, it looks like people who really enjoy their jobs and love what they're doing, and like you have a pretty fluid way of, well, an organic way of getting together and talking things out. And I just wanted to see how much of your time do you guys spend together just like storyboarding stuff, bouncing ideas off each other versus actually going out and doing that? Is it like team meeting, let's get a plan and break and you split out?
Well, I try to keep the meetings to a minimum, but the teams all they sit all together in big bullpens, so even the most dedicated work session often turns into a brainstorming session, and everybody gives everybody else feedback. So we're always walking around looking at each other's work, we're showing each other what we're working on, and when people have ideas, they're not shy about throwing them out there, and then that often spirals into some interesting ideas.
Hi, given how detailed the in-game cinematics are, Such as, I noticed that the rain pours down the textures in one scene, and obviously the facial animation when they're talking. Is that something that fans can do with the